Okay, everybody, I am excited about today's interview. We have been using Jay's company, his tool, at a very high level. Really, everybody on our team, as well as everybody who is applying to a position, actually fills out a DISC assessment with Wizehire. I found that it's the best tool and it's the easiest. I think the improvements he's made lately have been amazing. So welcome, Jay, first of all. And
thank you. Glad to be here.
I appreciate it. Maybe for those that are just getting introduced to your company, maybe you could share what Wizehire does. View of the DISC for those that are new to that assessment.
Yeah. So Wizehire started sort of around the DISC. So I wrote the DISC and the values profiles maybe 12, 13 years ago now. And it was with another company that I started that's 20 years old now called Innermetrix. And that's where the profiles actually kind of exist. And that company only works through independent consultants. And so we're at like 1,700 consultants in 52 countries, I think now. And they bring the profiles in and use them for management, consulting, developmental work, hiring, strategic planning, you name it. All kinds of human capital stuff. And we noticed, myself and the co-founder at Wizehire, Sid, that there was a whole class of organizations that these assessments weren't being used in. And it was in mostly hiring, and it was mostly in a small to medium-sized business. And so if you look at an organizational pyramid, spending the money to have a master consultant come in and use these tools, you're going to be at a line at the top of that pyramid that above that, you're okay. You know, if I'm getting a senior vice president, if I'm getting a general manager, one of my partners or something. But below that, even $100,000 positions, most companies just weren't able to spend that kind of money. So we said there's an opportunity to create a new process that automates that assessment in the hiring process, the benchmarking as we call it. So Wizehire was started simply with an algorithm that took the benchmark of studying thousands of individuals in a given job, let's say a buyer's agent or an ISA, and being able to autonomously, kind of like a consultant in a box, compare unlimited candidates against that benchmark and rank order them. That's it. That's as simple as it started out to be. We chose real estate to be the specialized area we focused in, the vertical we focused in, because we wanted a real career, a real job. People, you know, not quick service restaurants where there's 200% turnover, but a real career that people will spend their lives doing that had a really high turnover rate. So NSA talks about 9 out of 10 and 90% fail to survive the first 2 years when they get into real estate. So that was our test bed. You know, and then we've grown from there as our customers said, well, I love that you can help me instantaneously assess who's more likely to be a better fit for the job or not based on their personality and their motivations and cognitive abilities. Can you help me find more applicants to begin with? So then we've instituted all kinds of ways of posting the job to the top 60 job boards, an applicant tracking system that helps you move them through a process of profile to resume to phone screen, and tons and tons of educational support on how to interview them, creating an interview guide, yada, yada, yada. Main point being, it's evolved to a complete and robust system for a small to medium business owner that doesn't have an HR department. You know, they don't get to be like the big companies that have 12 HR generalists and specialists in-house to hire like a professional company would, like a big pro would, but doing it through software that's mostly artificially intelligence driven, automated, and a massively cool and awesome human support function called our HR coaches.
We were having this discussion today as we were speaking about the DISC in one of our office meetings. And I was Googling what percentage of people have the dominant trait being a D, I, S, or C. And I'm curious on what your perspective of that is, and how accurate our Google numbers are. Because, you know, in my world, I think everybody's a D or an I, because I hang out with Ds and Is. And yet,
it's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, and that's why your tool has been so great, because I hired or thought I should hire a lot of people like me, and yet not in all positions, right? And so it's brought a first layer of, I would say, protection against myself, in that I'm able to understand not just the disc, because that's obviously part of it, but also understanding the values to someone. Because again, I think everybody thinks like I do, and yet the reality is, thankfully, they don't, right? Because we need that diversification to make a healthy company, and not just a bunch of high D or high I people running around creating chaos. But I'm curious, like I said, how accurate Google is out there with this data.
So if you can see my screen, our exposure to, I don't know, maybe 7 million assessments that have been completed through our organization looks like this. And this holds pretty much true, and there's a delta here, you know, some variance, but this holds pretty much true for others I've seen that have personality assessments out there as well. So the S is the most common one you're likely to run into. Mm-hmm. It varies by area. You know, in Central and Southern California, you get a lot higher DIs, and then up in the North, you get more ISs, and near the DC Metro Belt, you get a much more higher concentration of Cs. You know, the Midwestern and Northeastern, bunch of DIs. Mm-hmm. Florida, obviously the hodgepodge, because, you know, I think only 5% were actually born and raised there. You know, but it tends to be S first, followed by I and C in close proximity to each other, and D is the lowest percentile that we see in the population. So the odds of you running into somebody on the streets, they're likely to be an S. It's, you know, greater than, up to, or slightly even greater than 50%. I've seen some of the stats are almost 52%. Now, think about the job distribution too, though. So that works well given the hierarchical sort of nature of organizations, where you have people that in more of the jobs, an S and a C is probably more important, because it's a lot more about how to get the job done, how to make it happen, taking it from idea to fruition across the line. And the smaller percentage tend to be the more innovative, visionary. Both are all, you know, all four of them are important. And what you talked about is the common problem we have. If I don't know that you're any different than I am, if I don't have a common language, I just assume everybody's the same. So in an interview process, I'm looking for what I think are cultural trends. And it has absolutely been statistically proven in too much research that if your personality is closer to mine, and it's a positive correlation, the closer your personality is to mine in an unstructured interview, the more I like you. Because like, you like the same sports teams, you think like a high D, you talk like a high I, or, you know, I'm a high C and you're very accurate and attentive to detail and somewhat unemotional and reserved, or you're a high S. And so we, you know, like minds get along in that unstructured interview process. Unstructured meaning it's just, I'm talking to you, trying to see if I like you and you like me.
Right.
But if I'm hiring you to do a job that I shouldn't do, wouldn't want to do, and couldn't do well, then that's where we've seen most success, you know, turn to failures, because I go, love you, now go do everything that, you know, I loathe to do.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't be doing. And when that person comes in who is, by golly, the best fit for that job, their personality is probably quite different from ours. And at a subconscious emotional level, they're weird. Mm-hmm. And it goes in any direction, you know. So you're a high CS, a high C hiring manager looking to go out and find a high, that salesperson is weird to you. They don't think like you do. They don't talk like you do. You know, it's like, you ain't from around here. You know, I mean, it's just, why are you different than I? And that really hurts the interview.